5 hours. No, sorry. 5 videos, 5 recordings. 5 recordings and about 3 hours. How long I've been working on this stupid thing until I realized, hey, the bugs I'm having? That's because I'm an idiot. So, today, welcome. I'm Blaster Toad. Welcome to ToadNet. Today we're going to be spawning things in the Procedural Dungeon project. And you can blame Ben 1999 for this. I know I do. Because it's a video I planned on doing. But he's apparently on some sort of timeline that he needs to know how to do this. So I'm like, I'm going to be a good guy because I haven't made a video in a while. So let's make this the video. I was going to do this like 2 weeks from now. When I had time to like sit down and make it nice, then redo it, and then make it for you guys. So you guys have the pretty version. Okay? And I would have time to do things. But instead I'm just like, hey, let's sit down and record this. And then something stupid happened. And then something stupider happened. And then I realized the whole thing's broken because I'm stupid. Well, stupid problems and I'm doing things stupid. But anywho, now let's see how easy it is to make a spawning system for our dungeon thingy here, whatever, dungeon generator. So we're just gonna get a new seed. Okay, why am I having... I've got a dropped room, but it thinks it. I've been helping people solve their issues with disconnected things, and now I'm having disconnected things. It doesn't happen often, but every once in a while I get a dropped room, so I'm gonna have to look into that. I might just have to download the project from Patreon. Anywho, yes, let's do a spawner. So we're gonna do a blueprint class. We're going to do an actor component. Okay, on our actor component, we are going to call this component underscore dungeon spawn. Okay. So, I'm going to get rid of our tick, because we're not going to use tick here at all. First thing we're going to do, we're going to get owner. We're going to cast to dungeon. And we're going to promote that to a variable. And this will be our dungeon that we're referencing. Okay. So, cool. We got our dungeon. Awesome. Then we are going to do a custom event and we're going to spawn things. Awesome. Compile save. Okay. So, where do I want to start with this silliness? Anywho, so we're going to get our dungeon. We're only going to spawn things if our dungeon's good. Oh, this will do that for us. So after here, we're going to spawn things. So we're spawning things on begin play. Okay. I'm just going to straighten that all off. Actually, see, every time I do this, I have to do it slightly differently. Because why would I keep it the same? Can I off this add instance? Nope. I want to add a new instance static mesh. Add component. Nope. Okay, so that's not gonna work, but that's fine. That's cool. So what we're gonna do here. So we are going to, when we spawn things, So we're actually going to move this down here because it will act like our is valid. There you go. So event begin thing, or begin play spawn things. The reason we're having this as its own custom event is if you need to call it elsewhere based on how you have things set up. So then we got our dungeon. We need to know how many things to spawn. So we want a quantity. And that will be an integer. We want room only, which will be a Boolean. And we're going to add a tooltip. Spawn in rooms only, question mark, or on any floor tile. Beautiful. We are then going to have another one called spawn item, or spawn list, and that's going to be actor class reference. Then we're going to click there, make a map, and we are going to do a float. So we got actors and we got floats. The floats will be the percentage chance that this particular actor will spawn, because why not? So we got quantity, room only, spawn list. Is there anything else I need there? We'll find out as I go. We don't want to spawn tiles, we want to spawn things. There we go. Okay. So, when we spawn things, we're going to get our dungeon. Then we are going to branch. And if rooms only is true, you're going to get our dungeon and get tiles, get floor tiles. If our room only is false, we are going to get corridor tiles. So we're bringing these down here. And we are then going to go that way, or we're going to go this way and do an append array. That only works if I do that. So I need to make a copy of this. So we're going to do floor tiles and this will be int vectors and it will be an array. Cool. So if it is rooms only, we're just going to put floor tiles into our floor tiles. If it is not just room only, we are going to put floor tiles into our floor tiles and then get our floor tiles and append our floor tiles with corridor tiles. Okay. Cool. So I had this whole thing where it got all the rooms and checked if the rooms had floor tiles in the floor tiles and all that, until I realized that the dungeon already has floor tiles are just the rooms and corridor tiles are just the corridors. So I had this whole big mess of getting stuff. And now it's right here. That's it. Yep. That's why I'm a little salty with myself and with Ben right now. So Ben, you better love me for this, buddy. Cause I hate you right now. Like, I say that half jokingly and lovingly, but yeah. I could have made this like 2 weeks from now, but you're on a time limit. Again, this is more just me venting because I did so many stupid things before just being like, hey, I can do the whole massive process just by doing this. Anywho, so we've got that. We then want to do a function which is going to be spawn items okay, so actually this here we're going to do trigger spawn things. So we're going to name it, because it's not actually doing anything, it's just triggering this all to happen. And then when that's done, we're going to actually spawn items. Okay, now let's go into our spawn items function. So we need a couple things. We're going to get floor tiles. We are going to do a for loop. Okay, no, we don't want a for loop. We want a while loop. So this is going to continue happening until something is done. We're going to do a local variable, items spawned, which will be an integer, a single one. So as long as quantity is greater than item spawned, it is going to keep looping through this. That is what a while loop does. And as soon as item spawned is equal to quantity, it will stop doing things. Isn't that great? Cool. So then we want to do, on the loop body, get our floor tiles. We're going to find the last index, and we're doing get a random int from stream in range. Our first item is going to be 0. Our last item is going to be our last index there. Our stream, we're going to copy the stream from our dungeon. And then that way, with the same speed, the same seed, the same things will spawn at the same places, which we'll see later. So we want to get stream. I'm going to get stream from there. Just tidy things up a little bit. Boop, right in there. And then that we are going to set as floor index. Okay, so that is the index that we want from there. Cool. So that is getting things and doing stuff. All looks fine. If we need to fix this later, because sometimes these get too close together, so if we need to fix it later, we'll do that later. Then, with our floor index, we want to get our floor tiles. We then want to get a copy of the item from floor index. So that gets us our random floor tile. Right? Then with our random floor tile, we want to make that int vector into a vector. To vector. We want to scale that properly, so we're going to multiply by a float. We're going to get our dungeon, and we're going to get scale. Just like that. We are then going to add our dungeon's location. Because if we don't add our dungeon's location, so right now my dungeon is up in the air. If we don't add the location, our spawned items will be down here on the 0 plane. We want it to be up wherever our dungeon actually is. So we're going to get actor location. Plug that in there. We're going to add another pin though, and we're going to promote that to a variable, and we're going to call this offset. And the offset is just in case your tiles are not center justified. So what I mean here, I'm just going to pop that down there. Yeah. Compile, save. So the tiles we are using, their pivot point is in the center. So when we spawn an item on it, the item is going to spawn in the center. Okay? If you wanted the item to spawn in one of these corners, you could add a random offset or an offset rotated. Right? So you could do like a, okay, plus 25, plus 25, and then you could rotate that 90 degrees at a time around the z-axis randomly to spawn something in the 4 corners. Or if your pivot was over here in the corner, then you could do a plus 50, plus 50 to spawn your item in the center. So that is just to adjust things. We are going to give that a base value of 10 on the z-axis, just so whatever we spawn is 10 centimeters up, so that it's not inside the floor. Even though like my floor, the top is at 0, just going to have it spawn 10 centimeters up. And that way, if this floor wasn't top at 0, if like the base was at 0, then things aren't spawning in the floor, right? So that's something for you to play with. So this here we're going to grab, we're going to comment get spawn location from tile index, or from random tile, I guess we'll call that. Okay, so that's our location. Perfect. Then we are going to do a get our spawn list. We're going to do a full, no, we need to get keys. Just keys? Just keys, not get keys, it's just keys. Then from our keys, we are going to do a for each loop with break. The break is important here. We're gonna start plugging this all in. And of course, now I'm hungry as soon as I'm like halfway into this video. Awesome. Anywho. So. We're looping through our spawn list. We are then going to find. So we're getting the class. We're going to find out with our find what the value is. We are then going to random bool with weight from stream. Our stream is again going to be dungeon stream, so we're just going to copy that, plug it over here. And then we're going to do a branch. So what this is doing is we've got a list of items per se, okay? So let's say this is loot or tools or something you can find in a dungeon, okay? So we'll have a list of chest and knife and gun. And there is a 20% chance the chest will spawn. There is a 50% chance a knife will spawn. There is a 20% chance that the gun will spawn. All right? So this is going to go through, hey, for a chest, we've got 30% chance. Should we spawn it? Yes or no? Yes. And then it spawns a chest. But when it spawns a chest, we don't want it to then try to spawn a knife or try to spawn a gun. We want it to stop there in its tracks. So if this is true, we're going to do a sequence. And on our second part of the sequence here, we're going to come and plug it into break. So as soon as it finds something that it is going to spawn, it is going to stop looping through those spawn options. And then we're just double clicking to add reroute nodes. Making them look as pretty as we can for looping back on themselves. That looks not bad. We're going to move our spawn location closer. Then we are going to, on our sequence, spawn actor from class. And we're going to plug our array element, which is an actor class, into there. And our spawn transform, I'm just going to plug in our location. If you wanted to change the rotation or stuff like that, you could do that here. So give it a random rotation and then make a transform, or split that pin and put multiple stuff in. For the demonstration here, I don't care about rotation. So we're just going to plug that in like that. We're just caring about spawning it on a tile. When we've spawned something, we want to remove the floor tile that we spawned on so that multiple things aren't trying to spawn in the same place. So we're going to get floor tiles, remove index, floor index, there we go. We are going to take this here and we're going to, no, we want this here, and we want to make a new local variable, last location. So we want to save the last location that we spawned at without the offset. Then we're going to remove the floor tile that we spawned, and items spawned we are going to tick up. So we're going to increment there we go. So again, what this is doing is, as long as quantity is greater than the number of items we spawned, it is going to keep looping through this, finding a random floor tile, then looking through the spawn list, checking if it should or shouldn't spawn something. If it finds something that it ticks true, it'll spawn. It will spawn that actor at the location of the random tile we chose, and then remove that tile from the list and say, hey, I spawned a thing. And then it will keep doing that until it's spawned this number of things. I think it should do that. The reason we are saving last location here is we're going to come over here. After we've set an index, we're going to go to our floor tiles, get a copy of that. Going to make it a vector. We are going to multiply it by the scale. No, not multiply by a vector. We want to multiply by a float. And then we want to do a nearly... No, we want to do an equals. Ah, yes. And we want to get our last location. And then in this here, we want to get, we want to promote to a variable, min distance. So this is the minimum distance things should stay apart. And then we're going to do a branch. Now we're going to plug this in here. If these are, so this is basically giving us a nearly equal. Is this new location nearly equal the last location within this minimum distance? If no, keep doing things regularly. If yes, choose a new location. We'll clean this up later. It's just going to be for a test here. Cool. Compile, save. Awesome. Now we are going to make some test actors. So we're going to do a blueprint class, actor, test underscore cube, cuber. Rename test underscore cube. We're going to duplicate that, test underscore sphere. Duplicate that, test underscore chest. And duplicate test underscore enemy. Okay. So for a chest, we are going to add a cube. We're then going to add a cylinder. We're going to rotate said cylinder and bring it up like that. And then we're going to select our cube, and because they're all parented together, we're just going to scale that like that. Scale that like that. This here is silly. So we actually want to unparent those. And just switch those values around like that. And then parent it again. And there we go. We've got a chest looking box thing. Ish. They should be scaling together. I'm not sure why they aren't. So we're just going to undo those again, and we're going to put that to like a 0.8 and that to a 0.8, so it's not quite so large. There we go. Compile, save. We've got a chest. Cube, we're just going to add a cube. Make it 0.6 and bring it up off the floor. Or up to the floor, I should say. Same thing with our sphere. We're just adding a sphere. Bring it up off the ground, making it like 0.6. Compile, save. And then for our enemy, I'm going to add a sphere. Make it like 0.8. And bring it up off the ground. Going to duplicate it, bring it up off the other one, make it like a 0.6. And duplicate it again. And bring it up. And make it like a 0.4. And we have a snowman enemy! Yay! Aren't we ingenious? Okay, so the way our component works is on begin play, it's going to trigger spawn things, it's going to get the dungeon that it's attached to, figure out what tiles it should use, and then try to spawn items. And when it's spawning items, it's just going to keep trying to spawn until it's spawned a number of things. That's the idea. Again, we'll come in here and we'll comment it afterwards and clean some things up. But for now, we want to open up our dungeon generator. And we want to add a component. And we want to add our component dungeon spawn. And we're going to rename this dungeon spawn underscore items. And then we're going to duplicate it, dungeon spawn underscore enemies. And you can have as many of these as you want on your dungeon. So for our dungeon spawn items, our items are only going to show up in rooms. We're going to have 5 items in our world. And those items might be a chest. So we're going to get test. I'm just going to copy that, so test chest at 30% chance, so 0.3. Our other one is going to be a test cube at about 50% chance of spawning, and a test sphere at, again, about a 50% chance of spawning. Okay. Min distance. We're going to play with that later if we run into issues with stuff, because I don't even know if we're going to need that. Okay. Dungeon spawn enemies. We're going to want 15 enemies. They are not going to only spawn in rooms. They may spawn in corridors. And then they are going to be of class test enemy, and they have a 100% chance of spawning because it's only a single item in our list. If you wanted multiple types of enemies, this is where you have like really strong enemy, 20% chance, so 0.2. Weak ass enemy, 0.8 or 0.9% chance of spawning, so 80 or 90%, and so on and so forth for your enemy types. Okay. So, from there, we should have a thing. So let's see if it works. So we've got a fully connected thing here. We're going to hit play. We're going to eject and take a look. And we've got enemies. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and... oh no. 14 and maybe one of these ones I didn't count. But yeah, it looks like we're getting our enemies spawn. And we have one spawning in a corridor. That's a couple spawning in corridors. That's exactly what we wanted, is they can spawn in rooms or they can spawn in corridors. However, our items that we have 1, 2, 3, oh, that should not be happening. You are not supposed to spawn there. It thinks there's a floor tile there. That could be why other things are happening. But yeah, so mainly, except for this one oddball here, all of our items are spawning in rooms, like we told them to. If we, say, got a new... oh, actually, let's just go again. If we hit play again, we'll see that because we're using the same spawn, everything spawns in the same place. Since they're all running off the same seed as the dungeon. If we go to our dungeon, though, and we get a new... come on. Where is... oh, I'm in world settings. Get a new seed. There we go, I like that one. That one's a lot different. However, we're getting some weird corridor issues. That corridor tile's not being pulled away. Or it's drawing a corridor and that would have been a drop tile like this, but it's been filled in by a corridor tile. Same thing over here. So yes, there's still some corridor logic I could fix up. But as of right now, it's just basically doing seeds until you get something that comes nice. Because yeah, there's like this corridor that goes nowhere. Yeah. Okay, so there's still some corridor logic to clean up. Yeah, because it's trying to get over here. I'm not sure if this is issues in the main project or if this is issues since I've been messing with it trying to help people. So I'll have to re-download the project from Patreon to figure out if that's happening there. But yeah, if we hit play here, oh, and then so play, eject, then we'll see, hey, we've got a whole new group of spawns. And all of our items seem to be spawning okay. So here's the thing, if we wanted, say these, to spawn in different rooms, they're not necessarily spawning one after another. Like, it could be spawning this, then this, then this, and that wouldn't change anything. But if you run into, I did have it before, so let's actually go and do less rooms. So we're going to do, what am I at right now? 10 rooms? Let's do 5 rooms. No, not 50. Now I got to wait for this to generate 50 rooms. Whoops. I want 5 rooms. There we go. And then from there, we spawn things, and I get a cluster of all my items in one spot. That is where the minimum distance comes in. So I've got 4 items right there and 1 over here. I want those to be spread out more. There's a good likelihood they're being spawned one after another. So now if I go into our dungeon generator, spawn items, minimum distance, and put this at like 600. So 6 tiles away, I want it minimum from each other. So we had a cluster here. Let's see if that stops clustering. So we still have a couple in the same room, but they aren't 4 clustered here. We now have 2 here, and 2 over here, and 1 over here. So, yeah. There you go. The minimum distance will keep your items from spawning too close to each other if you need to break them up a little bit more or have smaller rooms, but lots of rooms, and you need them not all jumping in one spot. So yeah, that's it. That is spawning items inside your procedural dungeon. Yay! We did it. And in only 40 minutes, where my last video that I couldn't get this far because stupid issues was an hour and 10 minutes long. And then I realized, oh hey, I did stupid things and I didn't need to do that. And then before that, I had a recording that I didn't have my audio on, and before that I had another recording where I did something different that was stupid. So yeah, this is now the 6th recording that finally looks like it's going to be fine. Huzzah! Okay, so we're going to clean this up a little bit. So this here, we're going to take all this, you're going to right click and say collapse nodes, and we're going to call this make sure or test min distance between consecutive spawns. And then we're going to come in here and we're going to tidy this up a tad. So we're going to straighten that off. We are going to move that down. This we're going to call index. Straighten that. And then we're going to do a pass, and we're going to do a fail. And I want those flipped like that. And now if we go back, now we bring this down like so. It now fits in line nicely, and then we'll double click that execution line and do a nice little loopy loop like that. Okay. So we're gonna comment here. While spawns are less than desired quantity, loop spawn logic. So as long as there's less current spawns in the world, then the quantity we want is going to keep looping. Then we're going to grab this bit. Get random floor tile. Test if minimum distance is respected, because sometimes we even want our spawned items to have social distancing. Ha, a topical joke. Oh, and you may have noticed there's no background music today. So for those that didn't like the background music, huzzah, there you go. For those of you like myself who did like the background music, unfortunately, Pretzel, the music player I was using, that is supposed to be free or stream friendly, royalty free music to use for any streaming platform, well, some of their music is now getting erroneously copyright claimed. So because one song from a copyright free music library sounds close enough to another one, I have a copyright strike on one of my longer, more watched videos that some other group is going to be getting any ad revenue from that. Like, not that I make any ad revenue because I don't have enough subscribers yet, but if I was making ad revenue, somebody else is going to make money off of a 2-minute portion of it, or make money off a 2-hour video for a 2-minute portion because of music content that they didn't even create. It just happens to sound close enough that the automatic ID system took it on. So, yeah. And it's not worth fighting. It's just, yeah, not worth the time. So, that's how the copyright stuff works on YouTube. It kind of sucks. But it's better than an alternative of none of us being allowed to upload stuff because YouTube's held responsible instead of us being held responsible, and not having an automated system so everything takes forever to upload. Like, you upload something and it goes through a year-long review process because there's so much backlog of videos. So the current system, not perfect, but way better than the alternatives. Let's just leave it at that for everybody griping about it. Anywho, back to commenting things and cleaning things up. So this section is loop through spawn list if item if item spawn is true, stop looping. Okay, that is getting the spawn location from a random tile. And then this here, spawn after, save previous location, remove tile from list, and increment items spawned. Huzzah! Everything is nice and tidy now, and beautiful. And there we go. What do you mean you can't find... Oh, because it's now a subgraph, I have to relink that. Yes, when you do a subgraph with a local variable, global variable, like blueprint-wide variables work no problem. The local variables in a function tend to break sometimes. So yeah, we'll just compile and save that, and we'll play, make sure things are working. Ooh. And we've got enemies spawning, and we have items spawning. Beautiful. Cool. Can I directly change those options here? So if I go to, like, spawned enemies, no. Oh, yes. Components, I want quantity. to be visible. I want room only to be visible, and I want spawn list to be visible. Compile, save. So now, from the editor, I can select that. I can select enemies. Yes. And say, okay, I want enemies now only in the rooms, and I want only 5 enemies. And if I play, eject, I now have enemies. 1 is still going in a corridor, but it might be thinking it's in a room because it's that one linking item. And otherwise, yeah, there's only the 5. Yeah. And if I wanted them not all clustered there, I could say, hey, enemies have a minimum distance, which I'm going to move up here and up there. So minimum distance and offset, we also want visible. So enemies have a minimum distance of 600 units apart. So now we shouldn't get them all clustering in this room. Hey, they're not all clustering there. We still get quite a few there, and we don't get the one in the corridor anymore because they're. And again, it's not. We aren't keeping a list of all the enemies spawned, hence why these two are not 6 meters apart. We are only making sure that if it spawns this one, the next one it spawns isn't right here. So it could be spawn this one, spawn this one. They are 600 meters apart. Or sorry, 600 units apart, or 6 meters. Then spawn this one, they are 6 meters apart. Then spawn this one, and they are 6 meters apart. But these two are closer than 6 meters. So that's somewhere where we could expand that to make sure that all items are at least the minimum distance apart from each other. Right now it's only consecutive items. But I think it gives us a nice random distribution pattern. So that when a bunch of things get close together, we can still force that group apart, but we aren't forcing it to be like... We aren't getting rid of the randomness, I should say. We're still maintaining randomness, but we are not... we're dispersing clustering slightly. Anywho, that is the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it helps out. Ben 1999. Again, I'm jokingly saying this, but I do kind of hate you a little bit. Just because this took a long time, and during the whole thing I've had to have my AC off because it's too loud to record. So I am now very, very hot, and my balls are sweating off, and I am going to now close the door to my office and turn on my little AC unit and just sit here in the cold and relax and not use my brain for Unreal Engine. Haha. But yes, Blaster Toad signing off. Hope you all enjoy. Again, Patreon members get access to the project files and early access, so you'll be seeing these videos right away. Everybody else, you get to wait about 5 days before the video comes out. 5 to 10 days, depending on the video. Or if I upload a series of videos, I usually have days between those on YouTube. So say... a 3-part series comes out. Those will come out like, okay, a week apart, or like 3 days apart for each video. But if I've recorded them all and uploaded them all at once, the Patreon members will be able to see all 3 at once, and 10 days before the first one goes live on YouTube. Whereas on YouTube, you'll see the first one up, and then 3 to 5 days later, the next one up, and 3 to 5 days later, the next one up. So, yeah, there are some perks to being a Patreon user. Again, I'm going to try to be a little bit more active here. So sorry for being away. I have been busy. I'm still busy, but I'm going to put an extra effort into having videos come out a little bit more frequently. So thank you all again for your support, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now. It's hot.